I walked into my grocery store last Tuesday with $14 in my purse and came home with enough food for the week. My neighbor spends close to $200 every trip and still says she has nothing to cook. The difference is not coupons or some phone app. It is the way I move through that store, what I look at, and what I refuse to fall for. Number 12 on this list is something every store does to you on purpose, and once you see it, you will never unsee it. Number 3 has saved me more money over 50 years than anything else I have ever done. Grocery stores are designed to part you from your paycheck. Every shelf, every cent pumped through those vents, every sign hanging from the ceiling is there for a reason, and the reason is not to help you. My mother taught me how to see through all of it before I was old enough to push the cart myself. Here are 20 things I do differently every time I walk through those doors. Number 20. Eat before you go. This is the oldest rule in the book, and people still ignore it every single week. A grocery store is designed to make you hungry the moment you walk in. That rotisserie chicken spinning in the case, that bread smell floating through the air, those sample stations at the end of the aisle. None of that is accidental. Every bit of it is there to get your stomach making decisions instead of your brain. I eat a full meal before I set foot in that store. Toast and eggs, a bowl of soup, leftovers from last night. I do not care what it is as long as my stomach is quiet. The difference between a full belly and an empty one at the grocery store is real money every single time. I have watched it happen to myself enough times to know a hungry shopper is a store's best customer, and I refuse to be one. Number 19. Bring a handwritten list and do not buy a single thing that is not on it. I write mine on the back of an old envelope every Sunday night. I open the fridge, I open the pantry, and I write down exactly what I need for the week. Not what sounds good. Not what I might want if the mood strikes. What I need. A grocery store has tens of thousands of items in it, and every single one of them is trying to climb into your cart. The list is the only thing standing between you and a receipt that makes your chest tight. I have heard people say they keep a list on their phone. That is fine if it works for you. But every time you pull out that phone in the store, you are one swipe away from looking at something else entirely. A piece of paper does not have distractions on it. A piece of paper does not ping you with a notification while you are standing in the produce section trying to remember whether you need onions. My mother never walked into a store without her list folded in her coat pocket, and in 50 years of shopping I have not walked in without one either. That list is not a suggestion. It is a contract between me and my wallet. Before I go any further, for the folks who want more tricks like these all gathered in one place, I put together something called Grandma's Grocery Playbook. It is on my website, frugalfrannie.com. I am not going to bring it up again. If you want it, it is there. If you do not, that is perfectly fine. Now, back to the list. Number 18. Shop on the same day every single week. I go on Wednesdays. I have gone on Wednesdays for over 30 years. When you shop on a set schedule, you stop making those little runs to the store for one or two things. Those little runs are where the real money disappears. You go in for a carton of milk and come out with $40 of things you did not plan on buying. One trip a week, same day, same time. You know what is in your fridge because you bought it 5 days ago and you planned around it. My mother shopped on Fridays after my father brought his pay home. She never set foot in a grocery store any other day of the week. A second trip means a second chance for the store to take your money, and she was not giving them that. Routine is not boring. Routine is how you keep money where it belongs. Number 17. Walk past the bakery counter and the deli counter like they do not exist. Those two sections carry the highest markup in the entire store. That rotisserie chicken for $6 seems like a deal until you realize you can buy a whole raw bird for less and pull 3 meals out of it instead of 1. The deli meats sliced fresh behind the glass cost 3 to 4 times what the exact same brand costs in a sealed package sitting 10 feet away in the cold case, and the bakery section with the fresh cookies and the decorated cakes. Every item behind that glass is priced for convenience, not value. You are paying for someone to do what a mixing bowl and an oven can do at home. I am not saying never treat yourself. I am saying know exactly what that treat is costing you when you do. I walk the perimeter of every store, but I skip those 2 counters completely. Number 16. Buy the whole chicken, never the parts. This one makes me a little crazy because I see people every week putting boneless, skinless chicken breasts in their cart at $4 or $5 a pound when there is a whole chicken sitting right there for a fraction of that. You take that bird home, you roast it or boil it, and you get 2 dinners of meat, a pot of stock from the bones, and enough scraps for chicken salad the next day. That is 3 meals from 1 bird that cost you less than a single package of breasts. The butcher at the store will even cut it up for you if you ask, and most people just never think to ask. The grocery industry figured out a long time ago that people will pay double for the convenience of not having to handle a whole bird. They are absolutely right. Most people do pay it. I do not. My mother could break down a chicken in 4 minutes. She showed me how when I was 11 years old, and I have never bought a boneless breast since. Number 15. Read the unit price, not the sticker price. Every price tag on the shelf has 2 numbers on it. The big bold number is what most people look at. But down in the corner, usually in a much smaller font, there is a unit price. The cost per ounce or per count. That little number is the only honest thing on the entire shelf. I have seen a big jug of juice marked at $3 look like a better deal than the small bottle at $2 until you check the unit price and find out the small bottle is actually cheaper per ounce. Stores count on you skipping the fine print. The unit price is printed small for a reason. Once you start reading it, you realize you have been overpaying for years on things you buy every single week. It takes 1 extra second per item. That second adds up to real money by the end of the month. Number 14. Plan your meals around what is on sale that week, not the other way around. This is the one that changed everything for me. Most people sit down on a Sunday, think about what they feel like eating, write a list of ingredients, and then go buy them at whatever the price happens to be. That is completely backwards. I start with the store flyer. If pork chops are marked down, we are having pork chops. If chicken thighs are on sale, that is Tuesday night dinner. If ground beef drops to a good price, I am making a big pot of chili and freezing half of it for the following week. The store puts different items on sale every week because they use those low prices to get you through the door. Those are called loss leaders. The store barely breaks even on them, or sometimes loses money selling them at that price. They are betting you will walk in for the cheap ground beef and then fill up the rest of your cart with full-price chips, soda, and frozen dinners. That is the gamble. I take the loss leader and I leave. My mother did this her whole life. She kept about 30 recipes on a rotation and matched them to whatever the flyer said was cheapest that week. If nothing she cooked was on sale, she made do with what was already sitting in the pantry. She never once decided she felt like making a pot roast and then went out and paid top dollar for one. That would have been like lighting a match next to your wallet. I keep a stack of index cards in my kitchen drawer, each one with a meal that my family actually eats. When the flyer comes, I pull the cards that line up with the sale items, and that becomes my menu for the week. It takes 10 minutes on a Sunday afternoon. The meal does not decide the price. The price decides the meal. Once you flip that one thing around, the grocery bill starts making sense in a way it never did before. Everything I have shown you so far is about how you move through the store. The next stretch is about what goes in the cart and what stays on the shelf. Number 13. Buy store brand for almost everything. The store brand and the name brand sitting next to it on the shelf come out of the same factory more often than you would think. The difference is the label and about $1. I buy store brand flour, sugar, canned tomatoes, baking soda, vinegar, rice, oats, and butter. All of it. The only exception I make is coffee, because I have tried every store brand on the shelf, and none of them taste the way I want my morning cup to taste. That is the only one. Everything else, there is no difference you would notice once it is cooked and on the plate. Name brands spend fortunes on packaging and advertising, and that money has to come from somewhere. It comes from you every time you reach past the store brand. Number 12. Look up and look down. The most expensive products in every aisle are placed directly at your eye level. Stores charge companies for that shelf space. The brands that pay the most get the spot you see first, the one your hand reaches for without thinking. The cheaper options, the store brands, the bigger sizes with the better unit price, they are almost always on the top shelf or the bottom shelf, the places you have to reach or bend to see. Next time you are in the cereal aisle, look at what is staring you in the face. It will be the most expensive boxes from the biggest companies. Now look down at the bottom shelf. Same type of cereal, different label, a fraction of the price. This happens in every single aisle in every single store. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. I have not looked straight ahead on a grocery shelf in decades. I look high and I look low because that is where the honest prices live. The stores designed it this way. They just never expected you to figure it out. Number 11. Never buy pre-cut, pre-washed, or pre-packaged fruits and vegetables. That plastic container of cubed watermelon costs 3 times what the whole watermelon costs, and the whole one is sitting right next to it. Those bags of pre-washed salad greens carry a markup of 2 to 3 times what a head of lettuce runs. You are paying someone to do 60 seconds of work with a knife. I own a cutting board and a sharp knife, and those 2 things have saved me a small fortune over the years. If you can hold a knife, you can cut your own fruit and wash your own greens. It takes less than 5 minutes to chop what you need for a meal. 5 minutes of your time or several extra dollars on every single item in the produce section. I know which one I pick. Number 10. Buy dry beans and rice instead of canned or instant. A bag of dry pinto beans costs about $1 and feeds a family of 4 twice over. A single can of pinto beans costs more than that and barely stretches for 2. The difference is staggering when you add it up across a year. Dry beans take longer to cook, and that is the entire reason the canned version exists. They are selling your impatience back to you with a markup attached. I soak my beans overnight in a pot on the counter and cook them the next morning. It takes about 2 minutes of real effort. The rest of the time they just sit there doing the work on their own. Same with rice. A big bag of long grain white rice lasts me a month and costs almost nothing. Those little pouches of instant rice cost several times as much per serving and taste worse. My mother always kept a pot of beans going. It was the cheapest meal she knew, and nobody at that table ever complained. Number 9. Check the markdown rack before you shop the regular shelves. Almost every grocery store has a section, usually tucked in the back or along a side wall, where they put items that are close to their sell-by date. The prices are usually cut in half or more. This is where I find yogurt, bread, cheese, deli meat, and sometimes good cuts of meat that are perfectly fine but need to be used within a day or two. I either cook it that night or freeze it right when I get home. There is nothing wrong with that food. The date on the package is almost always a sell-by date, not a use-by date. It tells the store when to rotate the shelf, not when the food goes bad. Most people walk right past the markdown section because they assume something must be wrong. Nothing is wrong with it. The store just cannot keep it at full price anymore, and that is just fine with me. Number 8. Buy produce when it is in season and put it up for later. This sounds old-fashioned because it is. My grandmother did it, my mother did it, and I still do it every year. When tomatoes peak around here in July and August, I buy them by the bushel from a roadside stand for almost nothing compared to what the grocery store charges in winter. I blanch them, peel them, and can them in mason jars. Those jars carry me through the winter and into the following spring. I do the same thing with green beans, bell peppers, peaches, and sweet corn. When strawberries flood the market in June, I buy flats of them and freeze them in freezer bags. When apples come in cheap in the fall, I make applesauce and put it up in jars. The savings add up fast because produce prices swing wildly throughout the year. A tomato that costs almost nothing in August costs several times that in January because it was shipped from another hemisphere. A bell pepper in season costs a quarter of what it costs when snow is on the ground. Grocery stores depend on people wanting strawberries in December and fresh tomatoes in February. They will ship them thousands of miles, charge you for every one of those miles, and the produce will not even taste as good as what you froze back in June. I buy what the ground near me is growing right now, put up everything I cannot eat this week, and refuse to pay winter prices for summer food. It takes a few weekends of work in the warm months, but the payoff stretches the rest of the year. My mother used to say, canning day was the day you paid yourself for winter. She had a full pantry of jars by October and did not buy a single vegetable until the following spring. I have that same pantry today. It is not glamorous and the work is real, but every jar on that shelf is money I did not hand to a grocery store in January. Everything up to now has been about what you buy and where you look for it. These last ones are about the habits that hold it all together. Number 7. Use cash and leave the card at home. This is the one people push back on the most. When you swipe a card, you do not feel the money leave your hand. It is just a number on a little screen. But when you count out bills at the register, you feel every single dollar. I pull out my grocery money at the start of the week. I put it in an envelope in my purse. That is my budget. When it is gone, it is gone. If I am standing in the checkout line and the total is more than what is in my envelope, something goes back on the shelf. That has happened to me exactly twice in the last decade, because when you shop with real cash in your hand, you pay attention to every item in a way that swiping plastic never makes you do. I am not against cards. I am against spending money without feeling it leave. Cash makes you feel it. Number 6. Buy day-old bread. Almost every bakery section has a rack somewhere with loaves and rolls from the day before, marked down to half price or less. It is the exact same bread that was full price yesterday morning. I have been buying day-old bread for 40 years, and I promise you, in a recipe, it is identical. If you are making toast, sandwiches, French toast, bread pudding, croutons, or stuffing, yesterday's bread works just as well as today's. Sometimes better. French toast made with slightly stale bread absorbs the egg without falling apart in the pan. My mother never bought a fresh loaf when there was a day-old option on the rack. She used to say that paying full price for bread that was going to be toast by morning was throwing money at something that would not notice. Number 5. Shop at more than one store. I know this sounds like extra effort, and it is, but only a little. I do my main shopping at one grocery store, but there are a few items I always buy somewhere else because the price gap is too large to walk past. Eggs from the farm stand cost a good deal less than what the chain store charges. Butter at the warehouse club runs noticeably cheaper per pound. Rice and spices at the international market are a fraction of what the regular grocery store wants. I am not driving all over the county. I have my route. Wednesdays are the main store, and once or twice a month I stop at the other spots on the way home. That little bit of extra time saves me real money, week after week after week. Most people pick one store and buy everything there because it is simple. Simple is a luxury you pay for every time you check out. Number 4. Buy frozen vegetables instead of fresh when they are out of season. I already told you about putting up your own produce, but not everybody has the jars, the space, or the time for that. The next best thing is frozen. Frozen vegetables are picked and flash processed at peak ripeness, which means they often hold more of their nutrition than the so-called fresh ones sitting in the produce section that were picked green and trucked across the country for a week and a half. A bag of frozen green beans costs about $1. Fresh green beans out of season can run several times that, and half of them will go limp in your refrigerator before you ever get to them. Frozen broccoli, peas, corn, spinach, and mixed vegetables are all perfectly good and cost a fraction of the out-of-season fresh price. The only frozen vegetables I stay away from are the ones that come pre-sauced. That is just someone charging you extra for butter, salt, and a plastic tray. Buy them plain and season them yourself. Number 3. Keep a price book. This is the single thing that has saved me more money than anything else I have done in 50 years of grocery shopping, and I have yet to meet another person who does it. A price book is a small notebook where you write down the regular price of everything you buy week after week. Eggs, milk, butter, flour, ground beef, chicken, rice, canned tomatoes, whatever your household goes through on a regular basis. You write down the item, the store, the size, and the price you paid. After a few weeks, you start to see what things actually cost. You see the rhythms. You notice that eggs are always cheapest at the farm stand down the road, that butter goes on sale every 6 or 7 weeks like clockwork, that canned tomatoes hit their lowest price in the fall when the new crop arrives. Once you see the pattern, you buy heavy at the low point and ride it out until it drops again. My mother kept her price book in a little spiral notebook that lived in her purse. She could tell you the price of a dozen eggs at 3 different stores without opening it. She knew when something was genuinely marked down and when the store had just bumped the price up for a month and then dropped it back and called it a deal. Most so-called sales follow that pattern. If you do not know what a thing normally costs, you have no way to tell the difference between a real bargain and a trick. That is what the price book is for. I have kept mine for decades. It takes 30 seconds after each trip to jot down a few prices, and over the years it has saved me more money than every coupon I have ever clipped put together. It is not exciting. It is a notebook full of numbers, and it is the most useful thing in my kitchen. Number 2, never buy single-serve anything. Single-serve yogurt cups, individual chip bags, small juice boxes, snack packs of crackers, and those little coffee pods that go in the machine one at a time. Every one of those costs 2 to 5 times more per ounce than the full-size version. A large container of yogurt and a few small reusable cups will do the exact same job at a fraction of the cost. A big bag of chips and a handful of sandwich bags gives you the same lunchbox portions without the markup. Half the time, the packaging on a single-serve item costs the manufacturer more than the food inside it. You are buying cardboard and plastic wrap. I have a drawer full of small containers that I wash and reuse week after week. My grandchildren get the same snacks in their lunch boxes as any kid carrying a bag full of brand-name packs. Theirs just cost me a lot less. Convenience packaging is the most overpriced category in the store, and it hides in plain sight because each price tag looks small on its own. Number 1. Stop letting the grocery store decide what you eat. This is the biggest one on the list because everything else flows from it. The store layout, the background music, the lighting, the smells, the shelf placement, the big displays at the end of every aisle, the buy one get one signs stacked up by the register. All of it is built for one purpose, and that purpose is to make you pick up things you did not plan to buy when you walked through the door. The entire building is a machine designed to separate you from your money as quietly and efficiently as possible. And it works on almost everybody who walks in without a plan. My defense is the same every single week. I walk in knowing exactly what I need. I do not browse. I do not wander down aisles I have no business in. I do not stop to look at displays for things I did not come for. I go in with my list, I fill it, I pay, and I leave. That store does not get to tell me what dinner is tonight. I already decided that sitting at my kitchen table on Sunday afternoon. My mother used to say the grocery store is the only place in the world where people walk in with a plan and let a perfect stranger talk them out of it. She was right about most things, and she was especially right about that. Walk in with your list, fill it, pay, leave. Let the store try its tricks on somebody else. $14 and a list. That is what I carry into the store every week, and I come home with everything my family needs. Not one of these 20 things is complicated. Your grandmother probably knew most of them. Your great-grandmother knew all of them. Somewhere along the way, we decided that spending more was the same as eating better. It never was. Try one of these this week. Pick whichever one surprised you the most and come back and tell me how it went. If this is the kind of thing you want more of, hit subscribe so you do not miss the next one. My mother raised 6 of us on next to nothing, and not one of us ever went hungry. She was not deprived. She was paying attention, and paying attention never goes out of style.